Hi guys, DK here. Today I'm going to be taking you through a very quick Hello World program using DKUI graphical user interface builder for Grasshopper. So to get started, the first thing we will have to put down on the page is the DK page server, and this component is the most critical one. This is the one that actually handles the communication between your Rhino user interface and your Grasshopper script. And we can place the component down, and we simply need one other item, which is a Boolean input. And I can just use a toggle here. If I now click Launch to True, I've launched the user interface window within my Rhino environment, and this stays floating over Rhino. So it is a web view, an ETO web view modeless form. So it can you can interact with your Rhino environment. It's placing a point, but you can still have this open, giving you the ability to have controls in your for Rhino or for your script. So there's not much we can do with this when it first launches. It is resizable. So if we wanted to make that not resizable, we could take our toggle and put that into the resizable input. And we will have to restart DKUI. So I can close this, and once it's closed, it'll actually give us this option to close Rhino completely. I'll explain why that occurs in a later video. But if I click No, that will relaunch my my user interface window, and now we actually have to set that to false, and we'll come back. Now that that's resizable, it's clicked to false. I do not have the ability to resize this window. It will be fixed. Talking about sizing, let's say I can put 300. We can actually specify a width and a height on these two inputs, and again I'll just restart, and now that is set to 300 by 300 pixels with no ability to resize. So we'll leave that there. And this icon input, we can, let's come back to that in a second. Let's have a look at the title input. If I create a panel and go Hello World, if I wire this into the title input, and then again restart my DKUI window, this title goes into this title bar in the top of the DKUI control window. So that allows you to name this to match your application. Then we have this page input. Now if I wire this Hello World into the page input, we will instantly update to Hello World. So this page input is where your HTML data will get served up to this page, or to this control window. And if I create another panel here, this is always updated live. So if I connect that, you can see we instantly update to the new to this new text that's coming through. So the next thing to look at here, if I take this panel and I'll go the control window was closed. If we plug this into this message input and we close this window, we can see that this has been updated. So this is the message that will be sent to your users when they close the window. And we can jump back out of it. So we can leave that there. And finally, this icon input, this takes a base 64 encoded PNG file. So we can update this icon if we put a path component down, and if we go to human, and we go to image, there is a serialize image to string component. So I'm going to go here. Now if we just watch this this little icon on the left hand side here, I'm going to set an existing file, and let's just choose one of these icons here. So they just need to be in PNG format, and you want them, say, 24 by 24 pixels or around about. If I now plug that into my the output here is now a base 64 encoded text encoded string. If I plug that in and then restart, we can now see that that icon is updated. So this all of these inputs, the title, the icon, this is all setting up this page server to be to match up with whatever your application you want to have. So, but for now, I'll just stack all this up so it's nice and tidy. And I'm going to delete this and group this up. So we now have a working window. I'm actually going to take actually going to make this resizable, because that will be more useful for what we're about to do. So now we want to be able to add some controls here. So if we go back to our DKUI menu, we have a lot of user inputs here. I'm going to grab a slider, and we'll start populating this as a control for our HumanUI, or for our control window here. So page ID, this is actually not a requirement, but we'll put it in just to show how this is used. So I'm going to call this page 1 as my page ID. Now what page ID allows for, and I'll explain this more in upcoming videos. Page ID it just gives you the ability to have controls on different pages within your DKUI. So different control tabs having the same name but being identified uniquely by the page that they're on. So I'm going to plug the page ID in, and I'm going to call this sphere diameter millimeters, and that will be the name of our control. I'm going to make the minimum diameter 10, the maximum diameter 100, and I want a step size of 1 millimeter at a time. So those are pretty standard those are controls. So we're setting up the sort of working parameters of this particular slider. And now the next input, if I just plug into this value input, you'll notice that that this panel gets auto labeled. And if we open this up, this panel is now labeled as DK underscore sphere plus diameter plus millimeters underscore page 1. And this is the unique identifier for this particular number slider, and is used by DKUI in the transferring of data from our control window, or from our user interface, into Grasshopper, and back out again. So this is this DK number slider will automatically create this this coding for you as you're actually building up this component. We can put a tooltip in here, and we can say something like use this slider to define the sphere diameter in your GH script. So you can use this to define tooltips, and you'll see how that looks in a second. So I'm just going to plug that into my tooltip input, and then finally we can put a toggle here. This don't save input. This is used in the case where you well, there are a lot of components in DKUI for the finding, saving, and reloading of UI state. So these are all here to allow you to create GH scripts, GH applications that can let you save state either to the Rhino document or to your to the local drive, and then reload them when required. There may be a case where you have a particular inputs that do not need to be, or are better not to be saved in those in that sort of state document, and in that case you can wire in a Boolean true to this don't save, and you'll notice that the name here gets updated to DK_NS for not save. So this is part of the encoding here, that if we do this, we will not save this particular component, or this particular value in our save documentation or our save file. So I'm gonna I don't need that at the moment, so I'm just going to leave that false. This will be something we want to save. So with that fully set up, we can now, if we put a panel onto here, there's not too much secret source of what's going on this output. This is pure HTML. So this is an HTML form input called a range, and there is this has been completely built up using this data, and so we now have the ability to we now have some valid HTML. We can take that HTML, and I'm just going to create a text component, and I'm going to call that page. I'll plug page in, and this is just to be a little bit tidier. I'm going to pull this across. I'm going to hide the wires so we don't have stuff running across, and if I plug that into this input, we now have a control. So we actually have the ability to control slide across and create and choose a value for our sphere diameter. If we come back here though and look at this particular panel, our sort of control panel or our data panel for our slider, we notice that we're moving this around, but we're not getting any updates. We're still on this this default of 1 that's gone in here, which in fact doesn't even match up with our minimum diameter. So we need some more information in here. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to move. Let's move this out of the way, and we need to actually add some more information on the way through to our final page. So if we go back to our build UI page and come down to build page, this component is the one that adds the extra detail to actually complete the entire setup. And I'm going to rename this now actually to HTML. We'll call this HTML because we have we're now actually dealing with just our HTML page or HTML data. We're going to feed that into HTML. We also have the ability to feed in custom JavaScript and custom CSS. Now if we put a panel onto this side and we have a look here, we are now looking at a completely populated HTML page. So we have CSS, we have JavaScript, and we have a full HTML doc. So we can delete this out of the way. If I'm going to create another text component just to keep this nice and tidy, and we'll call this page, and we can pipe page into our server. And now that has updated a little bit of the formatting on our input here. In fact, if we scroll this across a little bit, give ourselves a bit more room so that we're not restricted to or we're not blowing out to 2 lines. That is looking on much better arranged on the canvas. And now if we come back here and look at our sphere input, I can scroll this across and release, and this value here is updating every time I release the slider. So we now have a connected interaction from our UI through to our Grasshopper doc. Now, to move that out into the canvas, I'm going to create another text component. Actually, this will be a number component. We can connect this up, and if we float over here, we have the 29, which is what we've got on the screen here. If we move that to 53, we now have 53. So I'm going to rename this sphere diameter. And now we're going to do something useful. So I'm going to create a sphere component, and we've got a diameter, but we need a radius. So I'm going to put an expression in here, which is x over 2, and then we can wire our diameter in, and we now have our sphere in our Rhino viewport. And if we make this a little bit smaller, now we can adjust the size of this as required. So there we have it, guys. That is kind of like the very minimum setup for DKUI, and it definitely involves this process of sort of setting up your controls and then building out your page, and we'll cover more on the styling inputs that can happen here, and then finally serving that out to your server. I hope you all find that interesting, and yeah, if there are any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments below, or you can contact me via the Rhino discourse. I'm known on there as Kiteboard Shaper. Thank you very much.